The IRS Savers Credit, getting paid to fund your Roth IRA. This is the federal tax benefit that puts money back in your pocket simply for contributing to a retirement account like a Roth IRA, and the upcoming change in 2027 that transforms it from a tax credit into a direct government deposit into your retirement account. The Retirement Savings Contributions Credit, commonly known as the Savers Credit, is a federal tax credit available to low and middle income workers who contribute to a qualifying retirement account. Qualifying accounts include Roth IRAs, traditional IRAs, 401k plans, 403b plans, and several other employer-sponsored retirement accounts. The credit is calculated as a percentage of your retirement contribution up to a maximum contribution of $2,000 for an individual or $4,000 for married couples filing jointly. Depending on your income, the credit rate is 50%, 20%, or 10% of that amount. At the 50% rate, a single person who contributes $2,000 to a Roth IRA receives a $1,000 tax credit. A married couple contributing $4,000 combined receives a $2,000 credit. That is money subtracted directly from the taxes you owe, not just a deduction that reduces taxable income. The income limits for 2026 are $40,250 for single filers, $60,375 for heads of household, and $80,500 for married couples filing jointly. Below those thresholds, the credit applies. The credit rate drops in steps as income rises within the eligible range. To qualify, you must be at least 18 years old, cannot be a full-time student during any part of 5 calendar months of the year, and cannot be claimed as a dependent on someone else's return. The contribution used to calculate the credit must be to a qualifying account. Roth IRA contributions fully qualify. You claim the credit by filing Form 8880, the credit for qualified retirement savings contributions, with your tax return. There is a timing advantage that most people overlook. IRA contributions for a given tax year can be made up until the tax filing deadline, typically April 15th of the following year. That means if you file your taxes in early April and discover you qualify for the Savers Credit, you have until the deadline to make a contribution that retroactively qualifies for that credit. The contribution reduces your taxes owed for the prior year, even though the money is going in after the year ended. The Savers Credit in its current form is a non-refundable credit. That means it can reduce your tax bill to zero, but it cannot generate a refund beyond what you already paid in. If your federal income tax liability for the year is $600 and you qualify for a $1,000 Savers Credit, the credit reduces your tax to zero, but you do not receive the remaining $400 back. The credit applies only up to your actual tax liability. This non-refundable structure has been widely criticized as the primary reason the Savers Credit has not reached the workers it was designed to help, because the lowest income workers often have little to no federal tax liability. The credit they technically qualify for provides little or no actual benefit. In 2021, less than 6% of taxpayers claimed the Savers Credit, a number experts have called a significant underperformance for a benefit that theoretically reaches tens of millions of eligible workers. The Secure 2.0 Act, signed into law in December 2022, addressed this failure directly. Beginning in 2027, the Savers Credit is replaced by the Savers Match. Instead of a non-refundable tax credit that disappears if you have no tax liability, the Savers Match is a direct federal government contribution deposited into your retirement account. The government matches 50 cents for every dollar you contribute, up to $1,000 in matching funds per individual. The match is fully refundable, meaning it is paid regardless of your federal income tax liability. Workers with zero tax liability receive the same matching contribution as those who owe taxes. The income limits for the Savers Match are lower than the current Savers Credit, targeting the benefit more specifically at lower income workers. But the structural shift from a non-refundable credit to a direct retirement account deposit means the workers who need the benefit most are the ones who will actually receive it. The Savers Credit, and starting in 2027 the Savers Match, is one of the few situations where the federal government directly subsidizes your Roth IRA contributions. A worker who earns $35,000 as a single filer in 2026 contributes $2,000 to a Roth IRA and qualifies for the 50% credit rate, receives $1,000 back from the federal government on their tax return. That is a 50% return on the contribution before the account earns a single dollar in the market. The long-term math compounds that advantage further because the entire $2,000 contribution then grows tax-free inside the Roth IRA for decades. The credit is not widely claimed, not widely known, and for eligible workers represents one of the most straightforward financial benefits currently available. The part that makes the IRS Savers Credit, getting paid to fund your Roth IRA, so important is that the headline usually sounds simpler than the reality. A retirement account rule can look like a clean yes or no decision from the outside, but inside the account there are layers: who owns the asset, where the money came from, how the IRS classifies the transaction, and whether the paperwork matches the economic reality. The people who get hurt are usually not trying to cheat the system. They are usually assuming that a familiar personal finance rule works the same way inside a tax-advantaged account, and that assumption is where the danger begins. A useful way to understand the IRS Savers Credit getting paid to fund your Roth IRA is to separate opportunity from control. The opportunity is the tax advantage, the legal structure, or the extra flexibility the rule creates. The control is what you must give up to keep that advantage intact. Inside retirement accounts, you often gain tax treatment by accepting restrictions on access, timing, ownership, documentation, or personal benefit. When someone focuses only on the upside and ignores the restrictions, the strategy stops being a tool and becomes a trap. The first practical question is always ownership. Who legally owns the money, the asset, the account, or the benefit at the exact moment the transaction happens? In normal life, people think in practical terms. I paid for it, I manage it, therefore it is mine. The retirement account world is different. The account can be the legal owner, even when you are the person making decisions. That distinction matters because a tax break is often attached to the account, not to you personally. If the ownership line gets blurred, the IRS can treat the transaction as if the tax shelter was broken. The second practical question is timing. Many tax rules are not just about what you do, but when you do it. A transaction that is harmless in 1 year can be expensive in another. A withdrawal that is clean after a waiting period can be taxable before the waiting period ends. A conversion, contribution, distribution, sale, rollover, or account transfer can all create different outcomes depending on the calendar. This is why dates, tax years, account opening years, and transaction records matter more than most people expect. The third practical question is money flow. Every dollar should have a clean path. Where did it start? Where did it go? And what account touched it along the way? Problems appear when personal money and retirement money cross paths without a clear reason. Problems also appear when income that belongs inside an account is deposited personally, or when an expense that belongs to the account is paid out of pocket. Even when the dollar amount is small, the pattern can signal that the account and the owner are not being treated as separate financial entities. Documentation is not decoration in these strategies. It is the evidence that the transaction happened the way the strategy requires. Statements, custodial forms, plan documents, tax forms, written approvals, purchase agreements, beneficiary records, conversion confirmations, and distribution records are the paper trail that turns a story into proof. If the records are missing or inconsistent, the taxpayer may still believe they followed the rule, but proving it later becomes much harder. In a dispute, memory is weak. Documents are stronger. Consider two investors looking at the IRS savers credit getting paid to fund your Roth IRA. The first investor asks only one question: how much money can this save me? The second investor asks a different set of questions. What rule creates the benefit? What would disqualify it? What records prove compliance? And what happens if my situation changes? The first investor may move faster, but the second investor is less likely to create an expensive surprise. Most sophisticated financial planning is not about finding the flashiest move. It is about knowing which details keep the move from backfiring. The emotional trap is urgency. People often hear about a loophole, deadline, exception, account feature, or tax advantage and feel as if they need to act immediately before the chance disappears. Urgency is useful when it motivates research, but dangerous when it replaces research. The right response is to slow the decision down just enough to map the rule. What is allowed? What is prohibited? What is uncertain? What professional should review it? A strategy that cannot survive careful questions is not a strategy worth rushing into. Another overlooked risk is assuming that a platform, custodian, employer, broker, or online form will stop you from making a mistake. Financial institutions are often responsible for processing instructions, not for guaranteeing that the instruction is optimal for your taxes. A button may allow a transfer, a custodian may process a distribution, a plan may permit a contribution. That does not automatically mean the tax result is the one you wanted. The taxpayer is usually the person left explaining the transaction when tax season arrives. The cleanest way to approach the IRS savers credit getting paid to fund your Roth IRA is to build a checklist before money moves. Identify the account involved, identify the rule being used, identify the tax form that may be created, identify the deadline or holding period, identify who is allowed to benefit, identify what would make the transaction taxable or penalized. Then decide whether the potential benefit is large enough to justify the complexity. This kind of checklist does not make the strategy exciting, but it makes it usable. There is also a difference between legal and practical. Something can be permitted by the tax code and still be a poor fit for a person who does not want administrative complexity. Something can be available inside a retirement account and still be inappropriate if it creates liquidity problems, record-keeping problems, or concentration risk. The best strategy is not the one with the most impressive headline. The best strategy is the one a person can execute correctly, maintain consistently, and explain clearly if anyone asks. The deeper lesson behind the IRS savers credit getting paid to fund your Roth IRA is that tax-free or tax advantage does not mean rule-free. It means the government is offering a benefit in exchange for staying inside a defined structure. The benefit can be powerful, but the structure is not optional. Once you understand that, the entire subject becomes less mysterious. You stop asking, "Can I get away with this?" You start asking, "What exact conditions make this work, and can I meet them without creating a new problem?" Before making a move, the safest habit is to write down the intended result in plain English. Then compare that intention with the mechanics. If the goal is tax-free growth, does the money actually remain inside the account? If the goal is avoiding a penalty, has the relevant clock actually finished? If the goal is protecting an asset, is the title or beneficiary record correct? If the goal is using a deduction or credit, do the income limits and documentation support it? Clear intention plus clean mechanics is where good planning lives. The final point is that mistakes are often easier to prevent than to repair. Some errors can be corrected with forms, recharacterizations, amended returns, returned contributions, or careful timing. Others are much harder because the transaction has already happened and the tax treatment is locked in. That is why the best time to understand the rule is before the account is touched, before the asset is purchased, before the distribution is requested, and before the tax form arrives. In retirement planning, the cheapest correction is the one you never need.